What's good? It's Santi coming back to you guys with another one. Recognizing the Game, episode 32. Black Flag, Yatu Sabes, you know what it is. In this particular video, this is the final installment of the series Simmering Tension and the Fight for Your Masculinity, making it part 10. Just to wrap up what I was talking about in the previous video, which I'll probably touch on again in future videos. So I was talking about a situation with this girl, which happened about 7 years ago, which was when it started, actually back in 2011. Then it transpired over the course of 4 or 5 years. So when we initially had that falling out, of course it was on my mind because I had gotten so used to having conversations with her. And at that point in time, she was a different type of female that I had come across. But at that time, you didn't really have women that were high level thinking in terms of being interested in spirituality and consciousness. Individuals that questioned the system and were able to see beyond what was or what is, and understanding that a lot of things in society are fabricated and they're not based on anything real. An illusion of what certain powers or governmental entities want us to think is reality. What they want us to think and believe is the norm. So I was grateful for that at the time, because she let me know that there was a different type of female that was out there compared to the one that I was in a previous relationship with, who really didn't, or who really wasn't on a higher level of thinking and had a very popular culture view of the world and social issues. She was very, elementary level. And, from the foundation of her views, it was just very basic. It wasn't evolved. And I would consider her to be a sellout, just the way that she presented herself to the public. She was just very superficial and basic in how she assessed the world. And she will ultimately be someone that I cut ties with too, for a multitude of reasons based off of principles alone. When I just put everything together and got down to the basis of it. So me and this particular girl that I met after my breakup, I have to point that out overall. I could tell that she was very sensitive. I cared about her from just a human nature standpoint. Someone whom I was developing an attraction for, who ended up coming out of nowhere. But over time, as we hung out more, I started to notice things just from conversations. She was somebody who was very blah. You know what I'm saying? With a sense of detachment from the world. It was almost nihilistic. And what I mean by nihilistic, for those who do not understand that terminology, is that nothing has any meaning. And I'm just like, there's nothing wrong with feeling that way at certain points in time in your life. Because sometimes you will just be like, this doesn't mean shit. You know what I'm saying? You'll get to a point where you question what is valuable in life, But ultimately, that energy, the energy that she was putting out, I began to mirror that in a way, like it began to affect me. Because we had a lot of conversations and we touched on a lot of things, about the world, spirituality. But I began to notice contradictions within her and certain things that she would say. But I recognized that she started to take me for granted, and when shit hit the fan, she wasn't someone that I could really count on. Because a situation did arise. Not that I was looking for her to be a certain way, but I expected her to at least be more concerned or aware of just how serious the situation was. It was a situation where, so let's speed it up to 2015. Well, no, we'll go back to 2012 after we had that falling out, and I had ran into her at the library. I said, what's up on my way to class, and she ended up texting me, and while I was in class after that interaction. But she wasn't necessarily direct about where she fucked up with me. And she was like, I let a lot of good dudes get away. And she was texting me this shit, you know. Initially, she was like, why haven't we talked in so long? And I was like, well, you tell me. You know what I'm saying? And she was like, I let a lot of good dudes get away. And I'm like, first of all, what the fuck does that have to do with me? When we started communicating again, what led to us falling out, we never addressed the situation directly. And I paid attention to things that she was saying in conversations. And it was like, damn, maybe you don't need to be with someone like that. And that's what I'm thinking to myself. That was what I was thinking to myself at the time. Especially someone who hasn't really healed from everything they've been going through and stuff like that from the previous relationship. And certain parts of her were kind of just like closed off. You know what I'm saying? She kind of had her guard up. Not that I was doing things to make her, have to put her guard up. You know what I'm saying? It was just more so from her own thinking, just something that she had become comfortable with. Even though she was open about a lot of things, you could still tell that she was kind of closed off. And so, and certain things that had happened in the past before you even came into the picture. You know what I'm saying? Just to get back to that point about, getting with someone who hasn't really healed from everything that they've been going through. You know what I'm saying? So I recognize in some things that she had stated, like having a fear of abandonment and having fear of attachment. And I'm like, damn, as I thought about this shit, I had some of those apprehensions too, in a sense, but it wasn't in an extreme case such as hers. I had a slight sense of distrust, you know what I'm saying? Never really knowing what a person is capable of, you know what I'm saying? And don't give people the benefit of the doubt, because a lot of people are lost and will do shady and underhanded shit. So as time went on, I began to become less attracted to her, especially when it came to me and what my interests were compared to hers. It was, just such a disconnect. She seemed so nonchalant about the things that were serious issues in regards to my purpose and the things that I take serious, especially when it comes to knowing who you are and where your ancestors come from, which is a major issue that is swept under the rug by many so-called black people in America. If you respect me as an individual, then you know not to say certain shit out of the way or to make it seem like it's less. These things are very important in regards to the human collective and us moving forward. It wasn't just about her. You know what I'm saying? It's greater than her, especially talking about indigenous people, which are those of us classified as black and brown people. What we have to go through and how the system plays its mind game. But that's another topic. So with her, it was like the sense of detachment, like, okay, and blah. And I got tired of that and started to lose attraction for her. And then I started to realize how she was, taking me for granted, how she was contradicting herself. Because the people I saw her hanging out with, I'm like, first of all, from what you're telling me, when we have conversations, is that none of these people are on your level. And you recognize that you're going in a different direction, yet you still entertain them when you're telling me that you all are growing distant. When we link and they're there, your friends, especially these two gay guys who she was like best friends with, you're still hanging out with them, and I see the difference. You know what I'm saying? They had like a petty frame of mind, and just something was not right about it. You know what I'm saying? It was just low frequency. So my position is, if you continue to associate with them, then you must be like them. You must be them. But one thing I knew when we would hang out and they would end up being there, it's like I just wanted the time for me and her to kick it and have our conversations. You know what I'm saying? This is college. It's all about the experiences that you have and how you make the most of them, you know what I'm saying, while you strive for knowledge, whatever your path is. Conversations that I wasn't really having with anyone else. But then at the same time, she wasn't really the only one, because I attracted more and more experiences with different women at that time. You know what I'm saying? Female wise. Even though there were other females that were interested in me. And I'm like, well, shit, if you and I are going to make this thing happen, then what's it going to be? You know what I'm saying? And at the same time, I wasn't all in either. I wasn't all in because there was too much that I was questioning. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know where she stood. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't sure, and there were things that were missing. I remember when we were out one night on the campus doing this Relay for Life event, and her and I were sitting down on the bench not too far from all of the festivities. And she was just like, when I graduate, I ain't ever going to see any of these people again. And we're probably not ever going to talk again. And I'm like, man, I don't have time for this negative shit. It's depressing ass shit. It was such a negative outlook on life. And, I'm sitting over here like, I don't know what your frame of mind is, but you just seem to not care about life. You don't have no enthusiasm for it. You know what I'm saying? You just don't seem to care about shit anymore. Like, where's your happiness? And these are valuable and important questions to ask when you're dealing with somebody. And so I ended up moving to Panama. And I knew before I moved, because I had gone down to Daytona and I was on trips vibing, and she was still on my mind and stuff. But I had other girls that I knew that were like, they wanted to be down with me then. You know what I'm saying? While I'm over here still trying to figure out shit with her over the course of so many years and shit, but wasn't trying to force anything that wasn't supposed to be. So when I got ready to move to Panama, I was like, man, I felt like we were going to lose touch. And so I moved down to Panama, and I was on Facebook, within a couple of days after I moved down, maybe. And, I would be posting stuff, but it got to a point where I was like, you don't even hit me up just to even check in. I wasn't even seeking any attention, but just to be acknowledged. You know what I'm saying? We've been friends for this long, and you don't even hit me up just to check in on me sometimes. Like, it got to a point where I was more so initiating the conversation. And I would see her liking posts and think that these, were the most basic posts of mutual friends that are not even on, you know what I'm saying, our level when it came to the things that we discuss. You're over there on their page, but won't even hit me up or anything. You know what I'm saying? Nothing. But I would be thinking that you were so busy and had other things on your plate. Because at that time, she was transitioning to, you know what I'm saying, she was like in graduate school while I was getting me another bachelor's. You know what I'm saying? So, I'm like, so I pretty much ended it after all of that. But I had a feeling and could already see it coming that we were going to end up going our separate ways. But it was going to be a decision that I made. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wasn't going to continue to just be passive to certain shit. So speed it up to 2019. At this point, I'd been cut her off and stopped talking to her. I deleted her number over 4 years ago, but by this time, and she was out of my Facebook friends. I pretty much, excluded her out of my life. You know what I'm saying? This is already a long video, but it's things in that relationship that I have to break down in terms of when you get to that point of no longer wanting to associate with someone, and you stop contacting them and you stop making yourself available because she didn't know I was going to do any of that. I pretty much went ghost. I lost attraction and got tired of it. You know what I'm saying? I went ghost. I was done. When I made the decision to end it, I was done. I didn't go back and forth with my emotions. You know what I'm saying? I made a direct, precise decision. That's a masculine thing. When you're done with, some shit, and you make a decision, you don't have time to be concerned about an outcome, because it's not about the outcome. It's about your needs and you moving forward in a frame of mind where your sense of happiness is not dependent on that person. You already have life. You have a life to live. You know what I'm saying? You already have purpose. And you know that's not going to be the last woman that you encounter or interact with, and you continue on with your journey. So to wrap it up, I end up not talking to her anymore for a good 4 years. I had no desire to reach out to her or nothing. When I was done, I was done. So then sometime early 2019, she comes to my Facebook page and she likes to post. And I'm like, man, my page is private. So you may find a few posts that are public from people that have asked me if I could make a post public so that they could repost it. So she liked a post of mine. And my position was this. She comes back to my page and likes a post. She didn't send me a friend request and she didn't send me a message. But you like a post of mine. And if you couldn't address those things that in all of this time, if you couldn't address those things that hindered us from actually coming together and building a relationship, your own shadow, and you don't hold yourself accountable, then we don't have anything to discuss. You know what I'm saying? We don't have anything to discuss because the fault was not of my own. I know where I could have done things differently, and that's my aspect of accountability. You know what I'm saying? But if you don't have the maturity, or you're not woman enough to reach out to me, send a message to bring forth a conversation so that we can discuss things and reconnect, then I'm going to see that as you not having grown, and you reaffirm my position to end it with you. You know what I'm saying? And so I just left that like there. I didn't even acknowledge it, you know. And this particular post that she liked stated, "He who is unconcerned with his lineage has lost his mind," end quote. And this is what I mean by recognizing the game. Love. Salute.